Good morning, students. Welcome back to today's class. Today we are going to start a new chapter, that is supply. In this chapter we will discuss about supply, law of supply and price elasticity of supply. First of all, we discuss what is meant by supply. The term supply refers to the quantity of a commodity which a producer or sellers are willing to produce and offer for sale at a particular price during a particular period of time. So that is meant by supply. So in the definition, if we just think about that, we should come to know that 2 points to be noted. One is willing to produce and offer for sale. It means that the producer must be able to produce those commodities what are demanded in the market, and they must offer those commodities in the market for sale. For sale at a particular period of time at a particular price. So when we discuss the concepts of supply, we should also remember about the 3 aspects in relation with the term supply. What are these 3 aspects? 3 aspects. The first one says desired quantity. It says that supply is a desired quantity. A supplier, one who supplies the commodity, a supplier or a producer must be aware how much level of quantity to be supplied in a market at a particular prices during a specific period of time. So supply is a desired quantity. I must know, being I am the supplier, I must know what amount of a commodity is to be supplied in a particular market. So in that concept, the first point aspects that we should remember is supply is desired quantity. The another aspects that we should remember is supply is always expressed with the price. It says that the second thing which is to be noted about the supply is that the term supply is always expressed with reference to price. Always expressed with reference to prices. What does it mean, sir? When we supply something, the producer must be aware what is the price exists in that market, and therefore he or she is ready to supply the particular level of quantity in the market. And in that concept, we always express the supply with its prices. Is it clear? And the third thing we should remember that supply is a flow concept. It's a flow concept. It's a flow variable. Supply is flow variable. So regarding these 3 aspects, when we define the term supply, the producer is able to produce and offer the commodity to sale in a particular market at a particular price during a particular period of time. And these 3 aspects to be mentioned in that. That is, it must be a desired quantity, it is always expressed with the price, and it must be a flow variable. This is what about the supply. Now, we will differentiate between stock and supply. What is mean by stock and what is mean by supply? What is mean by supply we discussed just now, and what about the stock? Certain points of view, supply cannot be considered as stock. And what are those differences? Let us differentiate one by one. The first thing is that differentiate between stock and supply. The first difference is, what is mean by stock? Total amount of a commodity available with the producer or seller is known as stock. So what is stock? In a common concept, we say, whenever we say that commodity is in stock, which means what amount of quantity is available with me at any time at a particular prices. the certain quantity of commodity is ready with me and I am able to produce and offer those commodity in the market at a particular period of time. That particular situation is known as stock. So stock means total amount of commodity available with the producer or a seller. He or she is ready to offer those commodity, whatever is available with the producer, okay, during a particular period of time. And what about the supply? The supply does not contain the entire stock. We cannot say supply is the entire stock. Why it is so? Because certain concept that the supplier must know what amount of a commodity to be supplied in the market. We have seen that desired quantity. In that concept, the supplier must be able to know at what level of quantity or what type of quantities are to be supplied in the market according to the demand. So it cannot be contained the entire stock, or the supplier cannot be completely supply those stocks in the market if there is no demand. If there is demand, it is possible, and that is why it is said it does not contain the entire stock. The second difference we can say that the stock and supply, one can be termed as actual supply, another can be termed as intended supply. So what is actual supply? Stock is considered as actual supply. You can write stock is considered as actual supply. What is meant by actual supply? The stock of a commodity is the actual amount that with the producer. What is the actual amount with the producer which is ready to be supplied in the market according to the demand? So that can be considered as stock or actual supply. What is ready with the supply? Whereas another term is intended supply. What is intended supply? The term is intended. What is meant by intended supply? What is intended supply? The part of stock. Intended supply means the part of stock which is available or which is ready in the market or which is given in the market for sale, and that is known as supply. So that is intended supply. So what is actual supply and what is intended supply? The other name of intended supply is supply. The other name of actual supply is stock. The difference is actual supply means what is actual supply? The stock of a commodity. Whatever the stock, the entire stock of the commodity rests with the supplier is actual supply. What is intended? According to the demand or that part of stock which is supplied in the market according to the demand. That is intended supply. Clear? And at the third point we can say that stock has no time dimension. Stock has no time dimension. Stock has no time dimensions. What is stock has no time? What does it mean? It has no time. Stock means at any time it can be supplied to the market according to the demand. Therefore, stock has no time dimensions. It is to be stocked in a particular period of time. Whereas supply has time dimension. It has time dimensions according to the demand. So that is what we also said, intended supply and actual supply. So these are three differences we can make between stock and supply. So we have discussed the term supply. What is meant by supply? What are the three important aspects of supply which is to be noted every time? That is desired quantity. It must be always expressed with the referred prices, and it is a flow variable. The differentiate between stock and supply we have studied. Total amount of commodity available with the producer or the seller. It does not contain the entire stock. So keep in mind that stock can be supplied at any time. If I say that I have some commodities stock, which means those commodities are available at any time in the market for sale according to the demand. But supply means what amount is a part of commodity, part of stock, whatever is stock, a small part is to be brought into the market as per the demand of those commodities is that supply, intended one. Okay, so these are the differences and this is about the term supply. Now we will move to what is meant by or what are the determinants of supply. So you can note down the differences. Okay, let me wrap this and we will move to the next. Determinants of supply. You write. Determinants of supply. What are the determinants of supply? The first determinants. What we mean by determinants of supply? Do you remember what is mean by determinants of demand? I have told you that whatever the influencing factors, the factors which influence a consumer to purchase one commodity in a particular level, those influencing factors are to be termed as determinants. Similarly, determinants of supply are same, those factors. Okay, how a producer can easily determine how much or what level of quantity of a commodity supplied or produced and supplied for sale in the market is determined with those factors. So those are the influential factors of a supplier to produce a particular commodity and offer those commodity in the market. So those things are generally termed as determinants of supply. Now we will discuss some of the determinants of supply, and each determinant has its own role in the production of a commodity. Let us discuss in what way those determinants are helpful for the suppliers. The first determinant is price of the commodity. Price of the commodity. Price of the commodity. The first one is price of the commodity. What is mean by price of the commodity? How does this determinant, price of the commodity, affect the supply of a seller? Okay, in what way is the price of a commodity? How does it affect the supply? Generally, we can say the price of a commodity. If the price of a commodity is high, normally supply of that commodity there's a chance of increase in nature. Why? Because each and every producer, they are always observing the market fluctuations of price or demand what is created in the market. According to the demand, producer is ready to produce those commodities, whatever is demanded in the market. So every time the demand and the price of those commodities are being watched by many of the producers. When there is a chance of increasing the price due to the less demand, then the producers who are outside of the market will be easily ready to enter into the market with a lot of those commodities what is demanded in the markets. Therefore, what is happening? When the price increases, automatically the supply also can be increased. Is that clear? Are you getting me? So the price and supply has its own related to each other. When the price of a commodity increases, generally the supply of those commodities also increases. In order to get maximum profit, the supplier must motivated by many of the factors, and one of the factors is the price of the commodity. When price of commodity commodity is very high, and that concept motivates the producer to supply more and more goods towards that market. Therefore, finally he reaches to, or he is getting chances to maximize the profit by producing those commodities which have more demand in the market. So this is the relation with the supply and the price of the commodity. Clear? And next point is goals of the producers. Right? Goals of the producers. What is the goal of a producer? What is the goal of a producer? Being we are producers, okay, every producers, their goal is to maximize the profit. And how can they maximize the profit? There are commonly two methods that, or there are many methods. Among all these methods, producer may give little importance towards 2 or 3 points to maximize the profit. In general cases, in order to maximize the profit, a producer must reduce the cost of production, or in order to maximize the profit, he has to find out certain methods or approaches to increase the sale of those commodities. So by increasing the sale of those commodities or minimizing the cost of production, the producer can maximize the profit. So goals of the producers, the main goal, okay, what is the important goal of the producers? It may be, okay, it's a common, that is profit maximization. Profit maximization is the main goal of a producer. And how can he maximize the profit? It is, as I told you, that he can reduce the cost of production and therefore he increases the profit, or else with a lot of approaches, different methods he can adopt to increase the sale of those commodity in the market, and with that he can increases the profit. When one of the commodities is highly demanded in the market, the producer will be very happy because the demand of such a commodity is very high in the market, make him happy because that dominates in the markets due to its high demand. When the demand is high in the market, generally there is a tendency that price may increases. So increasing price due to high demand in the market, the supplier may get more and more profit. But there is a negative side, other side is there, because as I told you that our economy our market is a monopolistic competitive markets, okay, where there are large number of producers and sellers and buyers. So there is a free entry and free exit. So by observing those situations, someone can enter into the market, okay, and also produce the same type of commodity which may reduces the profit level. But the profit maximization is considered as the main goal of the producer. He or she at any cost will take all the steps which helps him or her to maximize the profit, and therefore it is what they have to reduce the risk. Okay, the business itself is a risk entity. Okay, nobody knows what will happen in the future, whether he or she earns more profit or not. So risk-bearing entity, that is the business. So producer always must take some steps to diminish this risk, and therefore he or she can maximize the profit. So the goals of the producer is maximizing the profit. And third important determinants of supply is input prices. Input prices. Input prices. What is meant by input? Factors of production. What are the variables, okay, we used in the production process of producing one commodity? Those variable resources are termed as inputs. So in order to maximize the profit, producer must know what type of cost of production or what type of inputs are used. Generally, to maximize the profit, producer may use cheap inputs because those inputs do not have high prices. If the input prices are much higher than the existing or much higher than, then they cannot be maximize the profit, because if input prices are more, that affects the price of the commodity, leads to increasing price of the commodity in the market, may give less demand because everybody is not able to bear that or purchase that commodity by that prices, and therefore the profit reduces. So input prices, determining the prices or determining the inputs, the producer must be aware about the price of those inputs. Okay, he cannot, if suppose a producer utilize high technology, most modern technology in the production process, the cost of production may be too high. So in order to maintain that cost of production, he or she has to impose some more prices on those commodities. Then that prices cannot be bearable by everyone. So there is a chance of getting less profit in that. So in that cases, the producer must know must not use the higher prices inputs in his or her production process. Okay, and they can use medium ranges of inputs in order to maximize the profit. So this is what is about input prices. The next determinant says that prices of related goods. Prices of related goods. What about prices of related goods? Especially in this prices of related goods, if we discuss, we will discuss about a type of good, that is substitute goods. What about substitute goods? We have studied about substitute goods. Substitute goods, okay, they have a possibility when the price, like tea and coffee, we have discussed many examples. When the price of one commodity increases, the consumer has a normal tendency to change his consumption pattern from high price commodity to lower price commodity. In the same sense, prices of related goods, how does it affect in supply? In the same sense, he or she can, okay, suppose a farmer grows various vegetables on his land. In that cases, or if the market prices of some commodity rises, when market price of some commodity rises, generally the producer may increase the production of those commodities. Whereas the substitute goods of those commodities will be less in nature. So what does it mean? That every time he or she must know the variation, the fluctuations of price happening in the market, and in relation with those they have to produce the commodity. What type of commodities are to be produced? Generally, the consumers they may change their consumption pattern from higher prices to the low price commodity. So the producer must aware about the prices and of related goods, therefore he or she can be supply according to that. In such a way, price of related goods affect its supply. Another determinants we could say, techniques of production, technology. We can say technology or techniques of production. What is mean by technology or techniques of production? The technology, the methods, the different approaches that we adopted in the production process is known as techniques that we adopted, technology of production. If most of the countries, like at present situation, or we can say the developed country, like industrialized country, they use most modern technology, whereas in Indian economy we are considered as agrarian in nature. Okay, we may not be able to utilize such sophisticated equipments or methods in our agriculture sector, and therefore the supply of that commodity is definitely affected. An improvement or advanced technology always makes high cost. So when the cost of production increases, definitely we know that the price of the commodity increases. So such a way, the producer must know what type of commodity, what type of technology is used. To maximize the profit, they always use the better technology, the improvement in technology to be used. The techniques of the advanced techniques are used, okay, so as to maximize the profits. Clear? Yeah. Next determinants, it is said that nature of the commodity. You can write nature of the commodity. What is the nature of the commodity? The supply of a commodity also depends on whether the industry is monopolized or competitive in nature. Nature of the commodity. In certain cases, different types of markets we can select: monopoly, oligopoly, monopsony, etc. And in monopolistic market, in a monopolized market, we could see that the producer is always produces some particular types of commodity with some types of technology, whatever they like, because they are the monopolists in that cases. In that way, the prices of those commodity can be determined. Whereas here in a competitive market, the producer, but we are not in such a monopoly market. We are in a competitive market where large number of producers are there. In such a situation, there could be an intense competition among these producers. Each producer always tries to maximize the profit at any cost, either by increasing the sale or bringing more and more sales promotion methods in the market, or by reducing the cost of production, or accepting some other conditions, some other types of advertisements, or big hoardings in the cities and towns. With different methods, they may have to maximize the profit. So the nature of the commodity must, in that cases, we are aware about the competition among the producers. So what type of tendency there is which exists in the market about that particular output. So those, according to that, the firms are likely to produce and maximize their profit by creating more and more goods and services in the economy. Then we move to the next step: policy of taxation and subsidy. Policy of taxation and subsidies. What is meant by policy of taxation, or what is a tax and what is subsidy? What is tax generally? What is tax? Is a compulsory payment, okay, given by the consumers or purchasers to the government. Tax is imposed by the government. So here you have to remember, being we are buyers, we are giving tax to the government. What type of tax we are giving to the government? Direct tax or indirect tax? So we are indirectly giving a tax to the government when we purchase one commodity, because that commodity, that price, okay, that tax includes in that price of that commodity. Therefore, we are purchasing that commodity by that prices, what is generally acceptable in the market, by that prices, and a small part of money from that price is transferred or considered as GST to the government. Okay, we know that GST. So such taxes, what about, how does that affect the supply? If government impose heavy tax on some of the commodities, definitely the supplier is not ready to supply those commodities where more taxes are imposed by the government, because definitely that leads to less profit. getting less profit, now producer is able to produce more and more commodity in the market. In that cases, the sale of or the supply of those commodities will be less in nature. Okay, when taxes are more. But certain cases, government gives subsidies. These subsidies are, what is subsidy? Subsidies, so many subsidies we know that in the case of like when we purchases food items or some materials or some pulses or other food items from the PDS, public distribution system, to the ration shops. The government distributes some of the products through ration shops in a subsidized prices. The price which is the price of that commodity is very less than the existing market price of the same commodity, subsidized form. So we are getting LPG gas, in a subsidized form. We are getting kerosene or sugar through the ration shops in a subsidized form. So this is what subsidy means. But in this cases, the government gives some subsidies towards the farmers to encourage them, or to make them or to welcome them towards the supply or the production field, and therefore they can maximize the profit. In what cases, suppose they need to introduce a good technology, a most modern technology in the production process, but the particular farmer is, the producer is not able to purchase that input. Okay, so here comes the government role. That government gives some amount is reduced. Okay, they give those commodities to the farmers, and they are asked to pay less amount than the existing prices, and thus that part is what is deducted is paid by the government, and the rest amount by the producer. Therefore, he or she is getting some inspiration, to come into the production field, and therefore the production increases. So in that way, government can influence us among the producers by giving subsidies as well as reducing the taxes on various commodities, and therefore they get an intensity to produce more and more commodity, and by maximizing the profit. So this is about the policy of taxation and subsidies. And another point we will see that expectation of future prices. You can note it down. Expectation of future prices. What about expectation of future prices? What about common thing? What we can say that being a producer, what is my expectation regarding the price of the commodities? If I think that whatever the commodity that I produce and I am ready to offer for sale in the market, if I hear that the prices of those commodities are going to increase in future, the coming days, in future days, the price of those commodities are going to increase. By hearing such a news, being a producer, I must stop its production, and I will get an automatic tendency to hoard such things with me. I will stock it. Because whenever the demand increases, due to this scarcity, because already the supplier is not ready to supply the commodity by the present prices, because there is a news that regarding the price of those commodity will increase in future, therefore I may not be able to supply the entire commodity at the present time, I may hoard it, and that gives more profit methods in future when those commodities are demanded by the time. So such a way, regarding the future prices, being a producer, they must know about the price and what is the existing price of those commodity, and on what prices people demand, and what is the further stage of future expectations regarding prices, they must be able to know. The same in reverse, we can say that if somebody knows that the price of those commodities are going to be less in future, then immediately the bulk amount of quantity of commodities are supplied in the market, and they can be sell the entire goods in the market by that prices. So these are the two ways that it affects the supply. Okay, the future price. Okay, the price related things. Suppose the price increases in future, and those the supplier can supply those commodity in that particular time only when those goods are demanded by high prices. Then that can be postponed. Is that clear? Then we will see that about another one. Agreement among producers. Agreement among producers. Agreement among producers. What about agreement among producers? What type of agreement normally we make? Okay, what agreement? Therefore, being we are a producer, they may have some unions. Okay, among the producers, they need to make some. They create some articles according to the rules and regulation. Each producer has to bring the commodity what they produced and they offer in the market for sale. Okay, when there is a situation of lack of commodities, the suppliers are agreed to supply those commodities in the market. Such a way, based on the rules and regulations, the producers can offer the commodities in the markets, and that is what agreement among the producers. And next, we will see that availability of transport and communication facilities. And the last point we will say transport and communication facilities. What about transport and communication facilities? How does this help us to determine the supply of a commodity? If transport and communication facilities will expand, there is a chance of expand the size of the market. How does it can expand the size of market? Okay, they will automatically, when they come to know about the products where it is highly demanded in any of the market, if transport facility permits them to take those commodities towards that market in which there is a heavy demand, then they will automatically motivated. Okay, those producers, okay, will be motivated by that demand and the existing prices. So automatically all those producers will produce more and more commodity and supply with the help of transport and facilities. And it is also that they can say that this transport facility by those people only, means certain cases the producer may take some transport for hire. In that cases, that increases the cost because transport cost includes. Okay, other than that, even then they take this facility to reach up those goods what is demanded in those markets. And with the communication facility nowadays, you can say communication is okay, within a time we are able to know that what type of commodities are demanded in that market at what prices, okay, everything. So in that way, this thing is very helpful for determining the supply. So here we have discussed some of the important determinants of supply. So in this we have studied about what is meant by supply, what are the three concepts that we have to look into the definition of supply, then the difference between stock and supply, and the determinants of supply. These are the determinants of supply. Just you can note it down, okay, in 1 minute. Okay students, we will see a small topic, supply function. What is meant by supply function? The functional relationship between the quantity supplied of a commodity and its determinant is known as supply function. So symbolically we can write, we can express the supply function. Supply function S of n is equal to f of Pn P1 Pn minus 1 Gf F1, Fm, T, E, G, T, N, etc. in a symbolic expression. Here, the P of N means price of the commodity. I have mentioned here P of N. P of N is price of the commodity, one of the determinants. Pn and Pn minus 1, various prices. According to the prices, the supply affects. So, various prices. GF, which means goal of the firms, profit to maximization. We have studied one of the determinants. The functional relationship between the supply of a commodity and its determinants. Determinants are this. So, this we symbolically we have expressed for supply function. Now, F1 and F1. F1 to F1 are different factors of production. Factors of production, what is used in the production process. Different factors of production. E for expectation of the future prices. And T, techniques of production. What type of technology is used in the production process. This is what is supply function. So, you can just note it down. Okay, I think you have noted, and here we wind up today's class. So by the next class, we will study the most important part of this chapter, that is law of supply. Okay, so far we have discussed what is supply, what are the three aspects, and what are the determinants, then finally supply function. So up to here, dear students, you can read, revise, and make sure you have understood very well. Okay, then bye.